Tash, what happened?
Okay, listen. First of all, when you see the viz, you're thinking, holy cow, I can't believe there's that much ice in Mexico in summer. Let me put things in perspective here for you. It is not ice. It is ice, but it is hail. Hail comes from summer thunderstorms. So that's number one. It is seasonal, and it does happen. Guadalajara is also 5,000 feet elevation.
Oh, wow.
So it is up into the higher mountains, so that they're at greater risk for some of those ice storms.
Esto está de la verga.
Finally tonight, a stunning show in the sky that only a small part of the world could see, including our Rob Marciano.
This is the moment day became night in South America.
There it is. We have totality.
The moon passing perfectly between the Earth and the sun, a bullseye, blocking out all but the glowing edge of the sun's corona.
¿Y dónde está Marte? ¿Qué se llama? ¿Dónde está Marte?
Un día muy emocionante y lo hemos esperado durante tanto tiempo. Literalmente somos polvo de estrellas, porque buena parte de la materia que compone nuestro cuerpo viene de las estrellas.
The moon passing perfectly between the Earth and the sun, a bullseye, blocking out all but the glowing edge of the sun's corona, the hills and valley around us going dark.
It's gotten so dark you can see stars. And it's cold. Temperatures have dropped a good 10 degrees in the last 20 minutes.
The moon's shadow sweeping along a nearly 7,000-mile path across the Pacific, hitting the coast of Chile at 4:38 p.m. Nightfall for 2.5 minutes.
You hear the birds? The birds are confused.
It's the first one since the coast-to-coast U.S. eclipse of 2017, and many Americans traveled here to see another.
Totality is very spiritual for a lot of people. And once you see one, you want to see the next one.
Why the allure?
It's a multi-sensory experience unlike anything else nature has to offer.
A total solar eclipse is cause for celebration, especially in this part of our planet, where it won't be repeated for another 212 years.
Why the allure?
It's a multi-sensory experience unlike anything else nature has to offer.
And David, your series have been seen by literally billions of people worldwide. How would you explain their global popularity? And also, are you surprised that they're still so popular at a time when social media entertainment is very short-lived and fast-moving, and people's attention spans are quite short?
I'm not in the least surprised, oddly, because I don't believe that the child has yet been born who didn't look at the world around it with those fresh eyes and wonder. A 5-year-old will, I remember taking out a 5-year-old, 6-year-old perhaps, into a meadow in England, and he turned over a stone and he saw a slug. And he said, "Look, a slug, what a treasure." And of course, he's right. I mean, what are those two things sticking out at the front? What are they for? How does it move? What does it feed on? Astonishment. And that goes on and on and on. Of course, the time comes when other things come into it. And in this day and age, who's not to wonder at the miracles of the electronic age that he sees? But that should be fitted in alongside. If you lose that first wonder, you've lost one of the most greatest sources of delight and pleasure and beauty in the whole of the universe, in the whole of the wide world. And so caring for that brings joy and enlightenment, which is irreplaceable. That is one of the great pleasures of life. And if you lose sight of that, you've lost a great source of joy. What they see on television is new to them. But at the same time, people who watch the natural world on television get a vision of the world that no human beings ever had 100 years ago. 100 years ago, people didn't know anything about the world. They knew about their immediate circumstances, and of course they read books and so on. But now television can take them to the bottom of the sea, and they can take them high in the sky, and they can take them into the Arctic and the coldest regions and on the top of the Himalayas, everywhere, and you can see the most remote things. I think the paradox that there has never been a time when more people have been out of touch with the natural world than is now. And we have to recognize we are one coherent ecosystem. It's not just a question of beauty or interest or wonder. The central part of human life is a
disturbing trend in the waters along 4 Gulf Coast states.
There has been a large increase in dolphin deaths this year along the northern part of the Gulf Coast.
Almost 300 dead and dying dolphins have washed ashore since February.
That's about 3 times the usual number.
As marine biologists try to figure out the cause, the numbers are troubling.
From Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle, coastline residents keep seeing a dolphin die-off. They're all bottlenose dolphins, which live closest to shore. Last week, NOAA's Marine Mammals Standing Program, which Fougere oversees, designated this die-off an unusual mortality event, or UME.
They're up more than 3 times the average, and we're only halfway through the year.
Usually during this time frame, historically, we would see about 87 dead dolphins showing up on the beach in the northern Gulf. Wow. So we've now seen about a 3-time uptick in those numbers, and we're just approaching now close to 300 animals within the past 6 months.
Here's what we do know.
It is that time of year when whales migrate from Mexico to Alaska, but one made it only as far as the bay. A gray whale.
Breaking news, yet another dead whale has washed up on a Bay Area beach.
92 more dead whales washed up on Bay Area shores tonight. What may be behind the troubling trend?
Southwest Florida's coast might be clear of red tide, but it is still killing marine life. Hundreds of dolphins and sea turtles have washed ashore, and scientists blame this past red tide. Four in Your Corner's Alyssa Dicker tells us the research into this is just getting started.
Do know scientists can't stop whatever.
So many, in fact, are dying. It's the highest level in 20 years.
Disturbing mystery.
It's a mystery along the Pacific coast. Gray whales are dying in large numbers. At least 167 have washed ashore from Mexico to Alaska since January 1st.
Beaches along the west coast are looking more like crime scenes as investigators examine bodies that have washed ashore. They're trying to solve a marine mystery. Why are so many gray whales dying?
Well, the federal government just declared a wildlife emergency, and that triggers a response from scientists to begin looking for a cause.
It looks like it's on track to reach or exceed the most we've ever seen in a previous year.
So far this year, at least 167 dead gray whales have washed up on shorelines from Mexico to Alaska. And it's believed hundreds more could be dead in the ocean.
The most in nearly 2 decades.
Down in Mexico, there have been also a little bit over 70. So altogether, there's been over 100 whales that have stranded so far.
She says so far in the state of Oregon, 3 whales have stranded, 5 in Washington, 5 in Alaska, and in California, 37.
Anytime a group of large animals are all showing the same stressed nutritional condition,
it means that there's something wrong with their food. We really want to evaluate, are there changes in the environment that are causing this?
Scientists say that the whales appear emaciated and malnourished. The question now is why?
We always want to try to do the best to research and get all of the facts and figuring out the why, which is what everybody's doing right now.
If you've got gray whales that are dying because something's wrong in the ocean, it means other animals in the ocean are going to die too.
Europe is burning up as a brutal heat wave spreads across the continent. At least 7 people have died as the mercury pushes into triple digits again.
In Germany, about a quarter of the country is hovering around 100 degrees. And in Spain, triple-digit temperatures there contributing to the country's worst wildfire in some 20 years. Several countries have all set new June records, including a high, this is unbelievable, 115 degrees in France.
These are already among the worst fires in Spain's Catalonia region for 20 years. And the heat wave has only just begun.
Europe has been sweltering for days as a heat wave moves across the continent. Several countries have set new June records, including a high of 115 degrees in France on Friday. Weather experts say heat waves like this are becoming more intense and common.
We know that these sort of heat waves are now twice as likely to occur than they were, say, 20 years ago.
A picture of summertime in Paris. Except no one's allowed in those fountains normally, and this start to summer has been anything but normal. The heat wave tearing through the French capital also has paramedics in Rome keeping watch in case tourists pass out, while people in Geneva seek relief any way they can.
You just can't stay out in the sun the whole day. It's too hot.
The worst fires in Catalonia for 2 decades, fueled by some of the highest temperatures ever recorded. Sun and a plume of hot air from the Sahara, pushing thermometers into the 40s in Europe in June.
Keep cool. But concerns about what's causing the high temperatures is also on people's minds.
I'm enjoying it, but yes, I am worried about the impact of, climate change, and very concerned and trying to do my bit.
Of course it's climate change. There's no doubt about that. It goes without saying. The ice caps are melting. Everybody knows that.
Officials say we're seeing some of the hottest temperatures since records began.
These are the highest recorded temperatures for Belgium in history since the beginning of the measurement in 1833, yes.
As the weather sets new records across Europe, climate scientists say such heat waves are likely to become the new normal in the coming years.
Today was France's hottest day on record. Temperatures there reached over 114 degrees. A heat wave from sub-Saharan Africa has spread across large parts of Europe all week. The system spans from the UK to Italy to the Czech Republic. In Berlin, police deployed water cannons to salvage dying grass and trees. In Catalonia, firefighters struggled to control a wildfire under scorching temperatures. Tonight, Paris was baking as the U.S. women's soccer team defeated France at the World Cup. While it's difficult to attribute any particular weather event to climate change, there's growing evidence that climate change is changing the way the jet stream flows, and that can make these events worse.
You're thinking, holy cow, I can't believe there's that much ice in Mexico in summer. Let me put things in perspective here for you. It is not ice. It is ice, but it is hail. Hail comes from summer thunderstorms. So that's number one. It is seasonal, and it does happen. Guadalajara is also 5,000 feet elevation. So it it is up into the higher mountains, so that they're at greater risk for some of those ice storms, or not ice storms, but for the hailstorms. This other thing that you have to know is that because it's such high elevation, a lot of that viz that you're seeing is not that the hail fell to 1 to 2 meter depth. It's that there was a lot of rainfall in that washed it downhill and kind of brought it down into drifts as well. So yes, it was intense. Yes, it was extreme. No, you cannot just say, oh, that's climate change for you. And no, it's not winter ice storm in the middle of summer. So I will leave it at that. But it is still impressive system and impressive and interesting to see that viz.
When you see that truck going through on that street with all the, what's it, like 5-6 feet?
People are still missing in the southeast of the country. Torrential rain over the weekend saw major floods hit 55 towns and villages in the Irkutsk region, affecting 4,000 houses. River levels continue to rise. President Vladimir Putin has ordered the military to join the rescue efforts.
It's the heaviest rainfall people in Mumbai have seen in a single day in more than a decade. More than 350 millimeters of rain fell in just over 24 hours in the city of 20 million people.
As heavy monsoon rains have battered Mumbai, authorities are warning people to stay indoors because of the risks of such conditions. In fact, it's been declared a public holiday.
India has its monsoon season every year, but this storm has already brought the second highest rainfall in 44 years.
If you were awake overnight, you may have seen something strange in the night sky.
This is super weird. We've had several reports of something falling to the ground around 1 or 2 this morning. You see it here.
Something lit up the night sky here in Florida around 2:15 this morning. People reported seeing the flaming object here from Sarasota to Palm Beach.
And as far south as Key West, reported seeing a fireball streak right across the entire state. It actually turns out that fireball was not a space rock.
An orange fireball lit up the Florida sky, and it sparked a flurry of excitement and conspiracy theories. The American Meteor Society reported 24 sightings.
Just look at this. Through the sky, it had people everywhere reaching for their cell phones.
It's a UFO.
No, a Martian. It's a little Martian.
He says the objects were falling for a long time and there was nothing else in the Southwest Florida sky.
So weird. And this isn't the only video showing something weird falling from the sky. Our sister station in West Palm Beach had this video sent to them. The National Weather Service in Miami is even getting involved. All morning, they've been getting videos and messages asking what in the world is this, but they are also stumped. And what's really crazy is this is 1 hour shy of National UFO Day. Like, National UFO Day was yesterday.
Yeah, this is crazy.
And then things started falling from the sky today.
A lot of people are obviously wondering, is this aliens? It's so funny. So Chris is like terrified of aliens.
He is.
So
he really is.
Have heard about this or saw this and what he's thinking right now. But yeah, this is so weird.
That strange sight had people all over South Florida looking up.
Our top story tonight, a 5.8 to 6.2 magnitude earthquake off the coast of BC near Port Hardy and Bella Bella was reportedly felt by some here in the Lower Mainland.
We want to get to Southern California on alert this morning after getting hit by the largest earthquake there in 2 decades, sparking more than 160 aftershocks.
Felt for hundreds of miles.
People felt it from Los Angeles all the way to Las Vegas. It was a magnitude 6.4 quake.
It is the biggest quake in decades there. You can see the shaking, workers running for cover inside this restaurant.
Right in the middle of celebrations for the 4th of July.
The quake was damaging enough, but then came the aftershocks. More than 100 emergency crews racing to contain the disaster.
A children's 4th of July performance comes to a screeching halt. Parents filming hit the floor at Burroughs High School the moment a 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit hit near Ridgecrest. The several seconds of violent shaking did tens of thousands of dollars in damage at the East Ridge Market.
The epicenter, 11 miles northeast of the town of Ridgecrest, near the China Lake Naval Air Base. Roads ripped open outside of town, this liquor store destroyed, contents of these supermarket shelves tossed to the floor.
A big jolt and felt all over Southern California.
The quake, lasting at least 20 seconds, felt as far away as Las Vegas.
Experts say it looks like two faults were involved in today's quake, but not the infamous San Andreas fault, which is more than 100 miles away.
A magnitude 5.4 aftershock struck Southern California shortly after 4 a.m. local time this morning. It comes just a day after a magnitude 6.4 quake struck the Mojave Desert.
That's just one of more than 150 aftershocks to hit the same area since yesterday's massive 6.4 earthquake in Ridgecrest, 150 miles northeast of Los Angeles.
What's going on?
Are you
During the first earthquake?
Ceiling lights swayed and water sloshed in backyard pools across the LA region. Luckily, this one was much farther away from the most populated areas. Experts say, though, this should be a wake-up call for Californians.
This has been an extremely quiet, abnormal time. This type of earthquake is much more normal.
So put it in perspective for us. How bad, how big is it?
Well, it's big enough to cause tremendous damage. The Northridge earthquake was at 6.7, just a little bit higher in magnitude, but it hit a populated area.
You said we're long overdue?
Long overdue. We're playing Russian roulette with Mother Nature. You realize that the last big earthquake to hit the LA segment of the San Andreas Fault was, get this, 1680. That's over 300 years ago. But the cycle time for breaks and earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault is 130 years. So we are way overdue.
All right. Professor Kaku, thank you.